Hello! Point and Click Productions is back. I have less hair on the top of my head and more sticking out from the sides, I imagine. People have been asking, Joe, where have you been? What have you been up to? We haven't heard from you in a long time, so I thought I would tell you about what I have been doing with the time that I used to use making these videos. And in so doing, I'm going to make some more videos about my journey back into music as an example of valued living. So valued living is this expression sometimes used, or living according to your values, or living out your values, or however you want to put it. Expression used in ACT as kind of the proxy for the good life, or actually a proxy for the word happiness, since we tend to avoid that word, since happiness, as Russ Harris describes it, kind of a trap, that those who seek happiness are less likely to achieve it than those who simply live according to their own value system. And by values, we mean, as I've gone over in a prior video recorded a couple of years ago, anything of value to us. It doesn't have to be a moral or ethical value or even a principle. It could just be something you really care about. In fact, that's what we mean by values, is what we really, really care about, or what Kelly Wilson said, what you really, 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 really want. With apologies to whoever wrote that song. So for me, my values story that I'd like to share with you as an example of ACT put into practice in my own life. And I do believe that this would not have happened had I not encountered ACT and started thinking very differently about, well, values, and specifically about discomfort and emotional pain. So just to start, to tell you a little what I mean by that, because that's basic to the story. So when I was a teenager, I thought I was going to be a musician. In fact, I was very excited about this idea, and I toured a bunch of music schools when I was looking at colleges. Ultimately, I decided not to go to music school, though I did take a few courses in music in college, and I went to Oberlin College, which has a wonderful conservatory there, so I was exposed to a lot of music. But ultimately, I majored in Chinese. Later, I went into psychology. So music dropped away from my life, became much less important after age 17 in terms of creating music. Now, that said, my reasons at the time were perhaps what might be considered practical or wise in terms of following the advice of adults who told me, you'll never make a living doing music. You simply will never do it. And people in the music field telling me this. And of course, when you're 16 or 17, this kind of statement makes a very deep impression and can unduly influence the course of one's life and one's decisions. Now, upon approaching music again, which I did several times since then, there would always be a great deal of emotional pain around that decision that I made at a young age to not get formally trained in music, and so not set myself up for a career in music. And that emotional pain used to stop me, or I used to choose to stop doing music activities in order to avoid the emotional pain that would come up when all those memories came back about what I had dreamed of when I was a teenager and how I made a different choice, and that was not the life that I manifested to that point. So I was kind of stuck on that story. There was fusion with that story. And again, fusion being this semi-technical term for being unduly influenced by a thought or a series of thoughts, and especially influenced in a way that doesn't work very well with relation to one's values. So, this is the story of my going back to music as best as I could over the past 6 years since I turned 40 and kind of hit the wall and had my midlife crisis. Oh my goodness, what did I do? I should never have gone into psychology. I should have become a musician, yada, yada, yada. And I'm looking forward to telling you this story. And I think at this point I'm going to pause, as this is a decent introduction, perhaps. And now I'd like to maybe make a few notes so that I'm not too meandering over the next few videos. And hopefully this will be of some use to you. And if not, go watch my other videos. They're probably more useful to most people, especially the ones about ACT.